Welcome to another edition of PACTV Community News. This week, we bring you several volunteer stories from the beaches in Duxbury to tourist locations in Plymouth.
A lot of the real problems that we see on Duxbury Beach is just, there's annoyance trash like cigarette butts.
I've just been surrounded by the most amazing people that are clearly not only excited and appreciative of us being here, but done so much to make us feel so welcome.
We also take you to a ribbon-cutting ceremony at Kingston's transfer station.
For the residents of the town of Kingston, the recycling center is now open.
And we bring you information about the new proposed flood maps for Plymouth County.
There are two main components that changed. One is the inclusion of a term called wave setup, and the other is a revision in the way we calculate wave run-up.
PACTV Community News reports on citizen concerns regarding the waste storage project at the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant.
We want it done right, we want it done safely, and we want the town to hold a public hearing to allow us to have our voices heard.
Town Talk is back, featuring Kingston this week. Those stories and more are featured on this week's edition of PACTV Community News. Kingston has just completed the renovation of their transfer station, recycling center, and wastewater project. In operation for the past several months, Kingston town officials held a ribbon-cutting ceremony to officially introduce the new facility. PACTV Community News was there and shows you the highlights.
For the residents of the town of Kingston, the recycling center is now open. If everybody wants to take a walk of the tour and look down and see what we just did down here, you're welcome to go look. My name is Paul Basil. I'm the highway superintendent for the town of Kingston. This is Roger Alcott from Weston & Sampson, the lead design engineer for our new recycling area at our transfer station. We started funding for this 2 years ago at town meeting. The original estimate was $1.3 million. It went to a referendum on a ballot. It was voted down by 53 votes. It was explained to us that we needed to reduce the cost, so we brought it down to $975,000. I'd like to thank the residents at town meeting who voted for this project, the selectmen for backing us, the sewer commissioners. Underneath the asphalt on the backside is approximately 3 acres of leaching fields that you can't see, that will help to treat the wastewater treatment plant when they expand in the future. Once again, I'd like to thank the residents who made this all possible. Without the vote at town meeting to proceed, this would never have come to where it is today.
Well, the main focus of the whole project was to improve recycling and to promote a green environment. As you can see with a lot of the property here, the town has done a lot of work to improve the greenness of this space with the wind turbine, with the treatment plant, with the work that they've been doing there, and with this project improving the amount of recycling that's going to take place in Kingston. Before there was only a couple of containers. Now you've got, what do we have, like maybe 12 or so containers that will be very easy for residents to walk up to and drop off recycles and separate it, making it easier for the town to separate those materials and get them off-site at a reasonable price or at a profit.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Cipolla from Covanta CMAS. Thank you very much for having the opportunity to be here today. This is a wonderful facility for the town. Covanta, we support your recycling efforts, and we certainly think this facility is going to go a long way towards helping Kingston reach their goals that Claire has talked about. We're happy to help the town, and it was a pleasure working with Nancy and Paul on the contract, and congratulations to the town of Kingston.
Covanta CMAS, the town of Kingston, delivers their trash to our energy from waste facility down in Rochester, and we are delighted to have the opportunity to continue to service the town and we're happy to contribute to this transfer station. Beautiful facility for the residents of Kingston, and we're very, very pleased that Kingston will continue to dispose of their waste in what we think is the most environmentally preferred manner at an energy from waste facility, which creates renewable energy for the residents of Kingston and other communities within the state. We, Covanta CMAS, as part of our wonderful relationship with the town, we're happy to provide that funding to the town for this facility for the residents to benefit from.
This project is an example of what Kingston can accomplish when we all work together. Everyone from the residents to department heads to outside vendors. The residents voted to fund the project at town meeting. The residents adopted the meals tax, which is a funding source for the debt on this project. The project costs approximately $1 million, and it will be paid off in a few years without increasing taxpayers' taxes.
If you saw a lot of volunteers around Plymouth last week, you were seeing part of a national volunteer program called Tourism Cares. The program chooses specific locations where hundreds of volunteers from around the world help clean up and restore local tourist attractions. This fall, Plymouth was chosen as one of those communities. PACTV Community News shows you more.
Tourism Cares has been around for around 10 years, and it just has an incredible rich history of bringing the tourism industry together.
And it brings a lot of people together from all over the country, all over the world to help get all the sites that are historical and cultural in need of kind of help or just a little boost to get them going, and it saves them for the future generations because we bring tour groups to all of these sites.
The Tourism Cares for America series of events generally picks 2 sites all across the country, one in the fall and one in the spring, and we bring 200, 300, 400 industry volunteers together to volunteer.
Tourism Cares volunteers come from all over the country, come from West Coast, Chicago, Florida. We've got people here from, I believe, 21 different countries and 100 different companies.
Our normal process when we look at a place is somewhere between 2 and 3 years. We're looking for local support to help us do what we do, and Plymouth obviously has been very helpful in arranging everything. Plymouth is a perfect place for us. We look for places where we can do meaningful work in restoration and preservation.
So here at Plymouth Plantation, we have some incredible projects. Here on the Mayflower 2, we're sanding and painting, helping prepare it for the 400th anniversary of the arrival of the Pilgrims.
Over 20 people working on the ship all at once. We figured it's about a week's worth of labor all in one day we're getting, which is fantastic.
Thank you guys, this is awesome, look at you. They're actually replacing a significant amount of the palisade here at the 17th century English Village. We're doing work on the Wampanoag Home site, the Visitor Center, Henry Hornblower's Visitor Center, our bus parking lots, and we're actually going to be restoring historical stones at Burial Hill, painting Mayflower 2, and painting Brewster Gardens fence. Fantastic work here, and it's all being provided to the community.
This frame here is going to remain, and what we're doing is taking all the bark off of it. It's called a ni squato, which means House of Two Fires. And the volunteers that we have today are instrumental in moving the bark from one area of our site to another area of our site.
You know, I think the total value of the labor that went into preparing for this and what we're contributing today is around $140,000. So it's a big commitment from the plantation. It's a big commitment from us. We're all thrilled to be here, and it's really exciting.
Heritage sites like this actually rely on volunteer work to keep them alive and vibrant and going.
I just have to say that the community of Plymouth, just being surrounded by the most amazing people that are clearly not only excited and appreciative of us being here, but done so much to make us feel so welcome. And I've seen so many little examples of how this community seems to come together that makes me incredibly heartwarmed.
It's great to see the level of excitement, enthusiasm, and for us to have this amount of work done in a single day is just tremendous.
And by bringing them all here, this is this is a unique opportunity because they're getting to see what we all love by living here in our hometown.
And we know that we're helping preserve and restore something that our children and our grandchildren and future generations will be able to see.
Many Duxbury residents volunteered their time for the town's annual cleanup effort called Beach Sweep. Volunteers met at Duxbury Beach to remove beach litter and to clean up the area. PACTV Community News stopped by to see the results.
We're cleaning up the beach because everybody's throwing trash all over the place and it's good for the community.
I've done it in my past twice because me and Scott are a second year Weeblo.
We are sponsoring the international coastal cleanup at Duxbury Beach today. So we're providing supplies and refreshments for volunteers who come out and spend some time picking up trash at the beach. The International Coastal Cleanup started in the 1980s, and on a national level there was concern about trash and debris washing up on beaches and an interest in understanding and quantifying the types of trash and the sources of those trash. So the International Coastal Cleanup started with some data collection. So you can see the volunteers here are taking out data sheets and they're actually keeping track of all the types of trash that they find. That's going to go into a national database, and agencies such as NOAA and EPA are going to be looking at that to see if they can understand better the sources of the trash on our beaches and therefore come up with a way to lessen that load on our beaches. We categorize the trash in a few different areas. So there's land-based trash, there's marine-based trash, there's trash from shipping. A lot of the real problems that we see on Duxbury Beach is just, there's annoyance trash like cigarette butts, and cigarette butts are always the most numerous type of items that we find on the beach. Some of the trash that's more dangerous for marine life is the fishing lines and ropes, plastic bags, and balloons are particularly bad for marine life. And that's a lot of what we find on the beach. I think people don't realize when they have a birthday party or a realtor's open house that those balloons fly away. And here, that it's almost probably the second most common item that we find on the beach is balloons, and these are ingested by sea creatures, and also the ribbons on marine life and bird life can get entangled in them, so they're really a bad problem. The classic kind of latex balloon looks like a food source when it's floating in the water, so fish and turtles and even birds will try to ingest them thinking it's something good to eat, and it's pretty bad consequences for them, so that's bad. Then the shipping industry, we haven't seen it lately here in Duxbury, but a lot of times there's plastic trash, plastic pellets, there's ballast and other cargo that spills from boats, and that can affect marine life and it can wash up on the beaches. We haven't seen anything too much in that category in Duxbury in a while. Battelle is an international global research and development company. We're the largest nonprofit research and development institution in the world. Here in Duxbury, we have a small group of mostly environmental scientists, but institute-wide, Battelle does work in health and life sciences, environmental, national security, and we also manage 7 of the Department of Energy national laboratories. So it's really got a big footprint. The national headquarters is in Columbus, Ohio, but we've been here in Duxbury since, I think, 1965. So we have a long history of doing environmental and mostly marine and coastal related work out of the Duxbury office.
South Shore residents were invited to a meeting last month to discuss the new proposed flood maps for Plymouth County. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, introduced the new maps that depict expected flood risk areas, explained to residents and business owners how their property would be affected, and spoke about potential insurance rates and how that would change. All area residents are encouraged to participate in the public comment period by visiting floodsmart.gov or call the number below to learn more about the proposed maps and express questions and concerns. Once the public comment period is ended, the maps are expected to be adopted along with the new insurance rates. PACTV Community News was at the meeting.
Well, tonight is a public outreach meeting. Basically, it's an opportunity for people to meet with some of the FEMA subject matter experts. We have brought access to the proposed maps. People can come in first and they can check to see where they are on the new proposed maps. They can get some assistance from the people that are very familiar with the mapping. Then in addition, we have people like myself. A lot of people already know where they are on the mapping but have insurance questions. What are the insurance implications of being remapped into a high hazard flood zone? And we have the Bigot Waters law that came into effect last year that reformed the flood program. So a lot of people have questions. They know they're already in the high hazard flood zone, but they want to know what the implications are for them in the future for their insurance premiums. I would say the first thing that people should do is find out what is their current flood zone that they're in, and then by attending meetings like this, or quite a few of the communities have these proposed maps are online and are accessible, find out where you are going to be with the new maps. One of the reasons I say that is because if on the current maps you are not in a high hazard flood zone, then you do have the opportunity to buy insurance in that zone, which would qualify you for a preferred policy where the premiums are very low, and that would the policy will stay in effect for a full 12 months. And knowing that this was your first time being mapped into a high hazard flood zone, besides getting that preferred policy right now, it also may qualify you for an additional year of preferred before you would have to deal with elevation certificates and things that tend to drive premiums up. They've been trying to reform the National Flood Insurance Program for several years now. It started before Sandy. The deficit of the program had risen. I believe now with the results in for Sandy that it was up $25 billion. Now they basically have to go to the Treasury. What money we don't have in premiums gets borrowed at a low interest rate, and then the claims get paid. So the concern of Congress was that before they would renew the program for an additional 5 years, and this happened last July, they wanted to reform the program so that they could do something about going forward that we would be more fiscally sound.
On this side
yep,
of the road?
On the riverside,
okay.
Yep.
Most all of that is in the flood zone.
Yeah, the mapping that's going on it's coincidental that it's going on the same time as Bigot Waters haven't been passed. Even if the maps weren't being revised, the coastal maps now, the mandate from Bigot Waters to FEMA was that, we have to identify the policies that are not paying what we would call the full actuarial premium. So in other words, they're paying less premium than they should. So we call that subsidizing of premium. So the Bigot Waters Reform Act was a mandate to start to phase those premiums that weren't being charged back into the program. So if you have an existing policy, you would starting with October 1st of this year, you would start to see some additional rate increase.
So there are two main components that changed. One is the inclusion of a term called wave setup, and the other is a revision in the way we calculate wave run-up, which is the way the wave energy interacts with vertical or slope structures, like a seawall or a rocky bluff. The revised run-up approach takes the old methodology and essentially multiplies it by 2.2. So those elevations are increasing somewhat substantially. Sometimes we get architects and engineers that attend these meetings. They may be working with someone who bought a property that's going to develop it, and they may want to more understand the science behind the maps and how that impacts the property. So the program has been in place for many, many years, since the late 1960s, early 1970s. So just what's different now is with this new mapping update, because of those different modeling approaches that we just discussed, some of the floodplains, the 1% annual chance floodplain, have moved landward, and that tends to happen in marshy areas, so flat topographic areas, and along those sloped profiles, the base flood elevations have increased substantially. So the developer, the architect, would have to take those components into consideration when designing the structure to make sure that they're above the flood elevation. Your insurance agent will use your particular structure elevation to determine your category of risk. So if you have a basement and you're 8 feet below that flood elevation, your premium, you're much more at risk than somebody who's elevated above the flood elevation, and your premium is going to reflect that risk. There is more current science and different modeling approaches that went into account for this study. Overall, it's much more precise than the currently effective studies, but we encourage property owners to take a look at these maps to find out if their zone is changing. If it is, reach out to their insurance agent and see what that means for them. There is a 90-day comment and appeal period that's ongoing. It does end in mid-October. So we would just urge people to take a look as quickly as they can.
The neighborhood group Concerned Neighbors of Pilgrim and the Sierra Club hosted an informational meeting in Cedarville to discuss the latest updates on Entergy's nuclear waste storage project. The group discussed what the storage entails, why it is needed at the Pilgrim plant, and potential community concerns. PACTV Community News was there too.
What we are trying to do here tonight is probably 2 or 3 things. One was simply to let people have a better understanding of what storage of spent nuclear fuel is all about, what the issues are, what the problems are. Frankly, problems both on our side and to some extent on Entergy, since they have to figure out a place to put it.
I'm a lawyer. I grew up in Plymouth, not far from here. And I'm here tonight to talk about a really important issue that affects our town, our health, and our economy, and that is plans to store nuclear waste in our community for a very, very long time.
I'm from the Concerned Neighbors of Pilgrim. We're having this community forum tonight to raise awareness about the dry cask storage facility over at Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station. We want the community to be aware of what's going on and to have a chance to ask any questions about the site, and to get the community involved in this. Since the spent fuel is going to be there forever, we want to make it as safe as possible.
And so the public has to understand what the safer options are, and then they can put pressure on the town's fathers, talk about it with their neighbors, and so the political process will occur, and we will get a better solution to not a very good outcome.
Second thing that we're trying to do was point out some of the risks and how they might be reduced of the storage, not only as it is today, but frankly moving forward into dry casks, which although can much better than spent fuel, could still be done better.
This is radioactive waste that will remain dangerous for up to 10,000 years. And Entergy, the owner and operator of the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station, has run out of room in its temporary storage facility at Pilgrim and has to build a new long-term storage facility on the site. They've started building it, and we really support the idea of this new storage facility, but we believe that this community has the right to be heard in terms of how this is built. We want it done right, we want it done safely, and we want the town to hold a public hearing to allow us to have our voices heard.
We're not trying to close the plant. It'll close when Entergy decides to do so for economic reasons. We desperately want to move things out of the spent fuel pool and get them into dry casks, but we think it could be done better, and we hope if this comes back to the Zoning Board of Appeals that they'll be able, within the confines that the Atomic Energy Act sets, to set some conditions that will make this a better project, a safer project, an easier one to live with for the people of Plymouth.
Hi again, I'm Robert Fennessy, Town Administrator of the Town of Kingston, coming from the west wing of the beautiful Town Hall. Today I just want to talk a little bit about the Senior Center and some of the exciting activities that are going on this month in October. On October 9th, the Senior Center will hold an ice cream social, and it's an apple pie a la mode. So you can't miss that. That's a Wednesday at 12:30 in the afternoon. So I hope many of our seniors take part in that. But one of the most exciting things for this fall is on October 18th, which is a Friday. They'll be hosting at 12 o'clock the Western Tailgate Party. And it's a Western theme. It'll be a build-your-own-burger luncheon. So we hope you come and partake in that. There'll be slow poke or horse's neck in a cowboy boot kind of luncheon. You'll have to find out what that means when you get there. But there's other things. They'll have things for sale, such as cowboy hats, so you can get into the mode. Bandanas for $2, sheriff's badges and stick-on mustaches for $1. It should be a great time, a lot of fun. I'm hoping to be there for that day. So if you go, seek me out. I may have a mustache on, but you'll be able to find me. And then on October 29th, which is a Tuesday, at 1 o'clock, the Friends of the Council on Aging, which is a great organization that assists the Council on Aging in these programs, they're putting on a Witch's Brew tea by the Friends, and that's going to be in the feel of Halloween. So you may see some people dressed up. You may want to come dressed up in a costume yourself, but it should be a fun time. So those are kind of the exciting things that are happening in October, as well as a plethora of events that are going on all the time over there. And the last thing I want to do is just remind our seniors that if you feel you need assistance in anything, you can always call the Senior Center Council on Aging at 781-585-0511, and they'll be able to help you through the Shine counselors or others. And if you need assistance, if they can't provide it, they'll make sure that you get it. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in a week or two.
Thanks for watching PACTV Community News. Replay times are listed at pactv.org. Click on the PCN logo to watch each complete edition or individual story.
See us on YouTube by searching for the PACTV Community News channel. Also like us on Facebook to receive previews each week with links to all our stories.
Thanks for watching, and join us next week for another edition of PACTV Community News.